What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Mad Media Podcast. I'm your host, Ryder.
And I'm John.
And today we're going to be talking about setting. But before we talk about that, I think it's important to talk about the settings in our lives. So we have settings in stories. That's just as important. But what makes a setting so good? So to start this off, I thought it'd be a good idea to talk about settings we've experienced, good locations, and what better location is there to talk about than the perfect destination vacation spot? So John, do you have any in mind? We talked about this a little bit offline, but do you have like any real tantalizing ones that you've been to or any ones that you want to go to?
I'm pretty green as far as vacations. I've been to like your Yellowstones and stuff like that. And then like around here, there's a lot of where I live, there's a lot of open space, so you can visit like different lake areas and stuff like that. It's open and stuff like that. I think, to be honest, I think what makes a location is how it transfers from day to night.
You know, I should have known based on the pictures that you sent me of the sunsets in North Dakota. Yeah. That's a big thing for you.
Well, and then vice versa, like night to day, because like a lake vacation.
Yep.
You know, in the morning you hear the birds and stuff like that, and you get a feel of how this place kind of comes to life.
Yeah.
And then at night you get a feeling of how it kind of winds down and stuff like that, and vice versa. Just like the city you live in, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very different. There's a lot of noise, a lot of stuff like that. I would say that's very important around here.
Yeah.
As far as vacation, and then I get one thing that I can point out to people, like say from a city, is that you don't get into a city is when you go out of town and there's nothing around you. There's no light, like a sphere, I guess you can say, or whatever. Look up, because we get some of the best night skies.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
You can see stars and stuff like that. Like in Fargo, if I'm in Fargo, I look up, I can't see anything because there's such a light sphere, you know?
Yeah, and then the closer you get, obviously, if you're in somewhere like Times Square, good luck seeing the stars because the amount of light pollution that you're being subjected to. Your stars are right in front of you in their headlights. That's pretty much all you get. Yep. And you know what's funny? Go ahead.
Go ahead. I would say probably the vacation spot that was like kind of the biggest trip for me was Yellowstone, just because it's we drove there too, so it's such a transfer of like, because you're in North Dakota 1 minute, next thing you're in the deserts of Wyoming, then you're in the mountains, and then the mountains you have snowy days, you have nice days, it's such a mind trip. It's interesting.
Yeah. Now, don't discount the city folk just yet, because if you get high enough in those skyscrapers, they will charge you a hefty upcharge depending on if you're facing the sun or not. And that is a big thing. Yeah. They will twist the goddamn building just to make J-Lo happy if they need to.
Yeah. See, that's one thing that North Dakota doesn't have very much of skyscrapers. I think the highest building we have in this state is like 20 stories. So.
Well, is North Dakota flat, or is it mountainous to the point where you could see the sun anywhere? Because Michigan is flat.
Oh, it's especially the area I live. It's a river valley.
Okay.
So it is flat. And there's not that many trees. Once you get to Minnesota, there's a lot of trees and stuff like that. I was kind of thinking about this on my route today, because I drive for a living, drive semi, like I'll drive about 500 miles a day just in the area I am.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking about that today. I was thinking about you living in the city and how crazy it would be for you to just be sitting in my truck and looking one direction, and you can see for about 3 miles.
Yeah.
And it's nothing.
Yeah, it is unfathomable. And like the only place that I can do that is like the edge or the top of like 30 Rock at Rockefeller Center to be able to do that, because yes, you have so much overlapping it, and it is crazy. But like, I've been to places like Michigan where it is flat as a door and you can just see for miles, and it is beautiful, and I absolutely love that. Now, let me ask you this, because this ties into setting, and it's so funny that you talk about this, because one of my favorite things or vacation spots is Disney. A lot of people love Disney World. I love Disney World. I will always be like a slave to the mouse. They have on Disney Plus sunrise at the parks, and so they have each park icon, like whether it's Spaceship Earth or the Cinderella's castle, and it's literally just a time lapse from dark, like dusk, pretty much to dawn, and it's just the sunrise, and it's for some reason one of the most cathartic things I've ever found on streaming services. But they capitalize on the fact that that transition is so peaceful and it's so beautiful, and people will go anywhere just to find that perfect transition from either sun up or sun down. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, for you, you don't necessarily, if you were to pick, you don't really like being around a lot of people, right?
Not really. I'm not a big crowd person.
Yep.
Yeah.
So for your dream destination being probably somebody somewhere a little bit more recluse, what does that do to your psyche or your state of mind? Because it's obviously it's a goal. You want to go there. So like once you're actually there, how do you find yourself changing in either your way of thinking or your sense of peace? You know, I'm thinking in terms of a character, like what does it do for you once you're actually there?
I mean, to be honest, like it takes me about one day to like if I go to a new place, I try to map out, because I'm kind of a creature of habit.
Yep.
So I try to like map out what my day is going to be like. Because if I find a good coffee spot, I'm going to get coffee there.
Hell yeah.
So it's like, you know, I got my coffee spot.
Yeah.
And then after that, I try to kind of mix in different stuff here and there. But I will always lean to almost like the same activity. Yeah. Like when I would go vacationing in Sioux Falls, I would get my coffee in the morning, and then I would almost every day go for a hike in a different spot, like a different national park kind of thing. But I would always go for a hike. I would do a hike every day. And then stuff like that. It's like one of my favorite things is to kind of at the end of the day for a wind down, I don't really want to be around too many people. That's why I like this area. Because to be honest, if you go out, and like that's another thing that I think it would trip you out, because the city's so noisy. So it's like I can go a mile out of town, and if it's not windy, because we have a lot of wind in this area, there's nothing to stop it.
Yeah.
So if it's not windy, it would shock you just how quiet it, like desolate it seems. It's very like, it's kind of like zen, I guess, in a way. But
I just want to point out the fact that when you said there's nothing to stop it, I immediately took that as a threat. I immediately took that as a massive threat.
Well, like when people drive here, they say the wind is crazy, because it's nothing to get 40-50 mile an hour winds. That's nothing.
I want to see a story where that takes, like, that becomes a character in and of itself. Like not just Twister, but a story in which you just have this like romantic arc in an extremely windy town.
Oh, it's like, yeah. But like that's the thing. We'll have wind advisories around here to the point where you can't drive. Like if you drive an 18-wheeler, you have to pull over. It's so windy, or it'll blow your truck right off the road. So
your town would be like where Interstellar would start, pretty much.
Interstellar.
Remember where they would have like the giant dust clouds that would come over and they would sweep, and then they have to keep all their plates turned up because it would just be a dust storm.
Yep.
And then you shoot Matthew McConaughey into space. Yeah.
Yep. It would be very much like that, or kind of, you know, the tornado in Wizard of Oz. You know what I mean? Every time I see that scene, it's always like that's North Dakota.
It should be shooting all girls up in there.
Yep. Well, and that's the thing too, is like that's why we have so many tornadoes around here, because it's so flat.
Yeah.
And we have such crazy wind patterns. So there was a time I think we talked about where we had a tornado almost every day.
That's crazy.
Just in different parts of the state.
I don't get it, but no, you know what? Going back to your point about needing to actually wind down to you know, like really needing to seclude yourself away from people. I'm like that too. Obviously, you can't really wind down if you're still at the rave. So maybe you need to remove yourself, go back home, pour a nice glass of wine, good book, something like that. Quiet. Be as, you know, get around as quiet as you possibly can. I definitely am like that. One of my dream destinations, not a place I've been to yet. I've been to, for those of you who don't know, I was a touring classical musician. So I toured, did a bunch of performance tours in Europe. I've been to Italy. One place I've always wanted to go is Capri and the Amalfi Coast. And what I've sworn up and down I want to do, if I don't retire there, I want to at least spend a month in the Amalfi Coast or Capri. And I don't know if you've ever seen, I'll put up pictures here on the pod.
Is that south?
It's like
Is it South
south,
Italy or?
most like eastern, like southeast-ish, depending on where you want to land.
Okay.
And it's just got this, it's like a beautiful drop off, like this entire like village just set up on the hills, and then there's just a giant cliff that just falls down. It's so beautiful. If you're in some of the caverns, the caves, the light reflects up under the water, so it makes it glow like this really turquoise blue kind of color. It's beautiful. Food is great. So I've done the touristy things. I've been to Vienna. I performed in Salzburg, all this stuff. I've done the touristy things. Eiffel Tower, great. Eventually that stuff gets crowded. You're right about the crowds, and everybody's sort of tourists. Their fanny packs, still disposable fucking cameras everywhere. And so like I want to spend an entire month, so I can spend the first couple days doing exactly what you're doing, mapping out my schedule, knowing where I'm going to go, wipe the touristy stench off, and then the rest of like the 3.5 weeks, get to know the butcher, get to know the marketeer, go to the farmers markets, go back to my little villa that I've rented out and just cook and just become a local. That's a dream for me.
Italy, I think Italy for you too, with the music and the culinary stuff, it would come very full circle for you, because you would find, oh, this is where I get, this is a good bread shop. This is where I get my coffee. This is where I get my sauce.
Can't wait.
Stuff like that. And it's such a it's such a epicenter for cuisine. Yeah. So it would be, I don't know, like with stuff like that, you could find different stuff every day.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff. You know what I mean? You could stay kind of in your bubble. But you could find different stuff every day, and I think Italy would be cool, just because I'm into a lot of the history of places.
Yeah.
So Italy, Italy's rich with history. I don't know about the cuisine, I should say, but I've always been interested in New Zealand. Now I know the English Isles haven't been on everyone's forefront for cuisine, but I just think as far as like landscape, and just kind of, I just think it would be a cool place to kind of just get lost.
Yeah. Hey, the British just found a way to cook meat that isn't boiling, so we're a little behind on the times.
I don't know, about a month. It would take me not that long to get sick of meat pies and stuff like that.
God. Honestly, though, New Zealand, and that's I've been there. It's beautiful. Much more mountainous and landscapey. Exactly what you see in Lord of the Rings. Still haven't seen that, but we'll get there at some point. I know, dude. I haven't even seen The Godfather, any of them. I just started watching Succession.
God,
it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen on the channel. People have been asking for it.
So much worse.
I know it's so much worse. It's so blasphemous. It's so bad. All right. So one thing I like to do, like you said, you like to go somewhere where you can hike, right? So I like to go somewhere where I can jog, and that's how I explore. I go to a city, I go to any kind of town, and I jog, and that's how I explore. It's a good kind of duality of incentivization where I can I can run so I can explore, and I can explore, which which kind of justifies my running. And then they kind of go hand in hand, and I run a lot. Now, if you went to a place where you couldn't hike, what would be the next best thing? So like if you went on vacation, say you came to Manhattan, what would you do instead of hiking?
Well, like I told you, I was going to say, I do plan on coming to New York eventually, just because it's something I think everyone should do. New York and then the West Coast. But
specifically Manhattan, right? Because the Adirondacks, you can hike all you want.
I mean, the city somewhere, I guess. It's I would say probably Manhattan, just because that seems to be like everyone. That seems to be the place to go, I guess. You know? But I told you, I was telling you that one day, I was like, my biggest thing is I do not want to do a lot of touristy stuff.
Yep.
So I would I would lean on the locals at that point. Like, where do you get your food? Where do you go to eat? Where do you, stuff like that. Because like you said, there's no hiking. There's not going to, well, I mean, if I went to, a Central Park, I could go hiking and, walking around there.
Yeah. If you wanted to walk, you could definitely walk. There's a lot of that.
But I mean, if I'm going to, my thing is I want I want to get a taste of the place I'm in, but I do not want to be that person that's looking up at everything and stuff like that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I want to know, where do you get a slice of pizza? Where do you hang out late at
Yeah.
night? What bars do you go to?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Even outside of New York, I kind
Yeah.
of want to do that. You know what I mean? I don't
Yeah.
want to. I want to be a tourist. I want to be a tourist, but I don't want to be a tourist. You know
Right,
what I
right,
mean?
right.
Kind of
No,
thing.
I get it. You want to kind of be in the know, do something that all the other tourists just
Yeah.
walk right on by because they're on their way to, you know, the Statue of Liberty ferry.
Mm-hmm.
So did I tell you about the time that I went on a speakeasy crawl?
No.
Oh, really? So there's one.
Uh,
So New York City is littered with speakeasies, most of which
okay.
are just there to be trendy. It's not, there are a couple that are still there from Prohibition, but you can go on a speakeasy crawl online. It shows you exactly like where to find some of them. So there's one across from Chelsea Market, which is a very famous market in Manhattan, in Chelsea. Right across from it is a French restaurant called Lulu, and right on the side
Okay.
wall they've got this old Coca-Cola refrigerator door, and it just looks like they just drilled and mounted it on there. At a certain time of night, all you have to do is just go up to it, pull on the refrigerator door handle, and it opens up to a staircase down to the basement
Oh, crazy.
of that French restaurant, and it's a fully lit jazz bar. And it's
Oh, that's
amazing.
cool.
And all hidden, all exclusive, all that stuff. There's another place, and I think it's in the West Village. You go down into this basement. It's like a hot dog stand, hot dog restaurant. You go to the left hand side. There's a telephone booth. You go in. You hit a certain code on the rotary dial. The back panel slides open, and a waitress greets you and takes you in to the
Yo.
speakeasy. It's so cool, but exclusive, and that's something that only, you know, a real tourist or a good local would know about. I get what you're
Yeah.
saying.
And then on top of that too, it's like in New York, I would want to go to like a piano bar or like a jazz bar or something like
Yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm.
If I was in Chicago, I'd want to go to a blues bar.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of where I'm at, just kind of pick what I'm doing. And then also, I told you, if I go to the city,
Mm-hmm.
drop me off in Chinatown and don't ever look back, because give me all the dumplings, give me all the noodles,
Yep.
all I want. Yeah.
Yep.
It's like that would be a big part of my vacation is Chinatown.
And so this really bleeds really well into what we want to talk about in terms of setting, because it depends, depending on where you go and where you set your story will determine what your characters do with their time. So for
Yep.
example, like, you know, you're not going to be going to like an improv show in the middle of the woods if you set it in like in the middle of
Yeah.
like, you know, of just like farmer country. So if like you want your character to have some like out of body eclectic artistic experience, maybe put them in somewhere like Chicago, maybe put them somewhere like, I don't know, like in Prague or something like that. But it has to make sense, not just location, but time as well. So for you, you know, what's a movie or a story where the setting like really stands out to you?
Um, I think, well, when I think vacation movies
Mm-hmm.
and like the setting and stuff like that, I think, have you seen The Great Outdoors
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
with John Candy and Dan Aykroyd?
Yep.
That always that kind of always sticks out to me because it reminds me of my trip to Yellowstone.
Okay.
Kind of, so it's like, as far as a vacation movie, like setting and like kind of what they're doing and stuff like that, that always stuck out to me, I guess. The
Yep.
Great Outdoors.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
One thing I think of a lot, you know, if they something, especially when the setting itself is in the title, like for instance Shutter Island, you know, they
Yeah.
have a specific idea of what this island looks like, what it, you know, how it's drawn out, and it makes me think of somebody like George R.R. Martin, who was just completely map out the entire Westeros look, because he
Yeah.
needed to know exactly what route people were going to take from point A to point B, how long it was going to take them there. Well, you know, the last two seasons they didn't really give a shit about that, but in the first few, they really cared about, you know, how long it was going to take somebody to get to one place. Is it practical to get from point A to point B? Also, the movie that really stands out is Inception in terms of setting,
Sure.
because when they went deeper into each level of the dream, each level was so specifically different. One was like a
Yep.
corporate really high end hotel, a street side, a snowy mountain where they're
Mm-hmm.
skiing. There was just so many different levels to where they were going, and they were all deliberate. They all pose different
Yep.
challenges. And so when you're mapping out a story, you're looking at the setting, you're like, okay, what can we do to challenge them in the way that we need them to challenge in, to the point where this setting is the only setting
Yeah.
we could possibly do and have for these
Mm-hmm.
characters.
Also, I think a really good movie, like the people that create the Alien movies,
Yep.
I think they do a really good job at kind of putting you into into like a planet, or like they do a good job like putting you there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When they take you to
Yeah.
a planet and stuff like that, like Prometheus. I
Mm-hmm.
think Prometheus did a really good job, kind of like you're on a alien planet, but it kind of seems somewhat familiar. You know what I mean? It, like
Yeah.
they don't go
Right.
too left field with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was thinking of another one. So when you were talking about the dreams and stuff like that, um, it's not a vacation movie, but kind of like a movie that takes you to different places and kind of puts you in a different setting is The Cell. I
Yeah.
would say, like,
Yeah.
I don't know, you probably, I don't know if you've seen that, but The Cell, it's like every time it's all a trip inside of a guy's head.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you're in different like layers of his brain kind of thing, and it's all a twisted layer because he's a serial killer. So
Yeah.
it's I don't know, like that movie I think does a really good job with like setting and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that, and like kind of just twists and stuff like that, but it's not much of a vacation movie.
No, no, that's fine. Now, like, setting should play as much of a character as everything else. It
Mm-hmm.
drives the plot. It creates the
Mm-hmm.
conflict, because you're not going to have a lot of conflict in something if the setting allows for something an easy resolution.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were just talking about this, if there's a relationship issue and this person doesn't know what their loved one is doing, and they don't know how to get
Mm-hmm.
in touch with them. Well, if it's 2025, you can just text them. You can look on social media. There are all of these things, and
Yeah.
not saying you have to engage with them, but if you actively ignore them, there's going to have to be
Mm-hmm.
a lot more suspension of disbelief from your audience, which isn't going to go
Yeah.
well. It's going to be a lot easier if you set the time back 40 years to where you don't have to worry about all of that, and you can literally cut off all communication between you and that person, and then
Yep.
build that tension, because now the reality is there's no way to get in contact with that person. You
Yeah.
have to physically see
Mm-hmm.
them.
Yep.
Now, that also brings up a good point, that time plays a lot
Yep.
into this. So not just location. So can you imagine, let's see, like, what's one of your favorite period pieces? Doesn't have to be in
um
film, can be a movie, show, book.
I really like probably, oh man, I would say probably like either Braveheart or Kingdom of Heaven, kind of that
Yep.
kind of
Yep.
area,
Yep. Yep.
like the Crusades and stuff like that.
Yep. I like, even I think of something just as like fun, adventurous as like the Pirates of the Caribbean. Taking
Sure.
place hundreds and hundreds of years ago, to the point where a sword fight is justified. Like
Hmm.
the technology isn't there where you could just blast somebody with a Tommy gun. That would make for a terrible Pirates
Yeah.
movie. I remember in the second one, when the Flying
Oh.
Dutchman came out with those triple decker front cannons shooting
Hmm.
at the Black Pearl from the back. I was floored by that, because I was like, oh, that is upgraded technology for this
Yeah.
world. But like, they're not
Hmm.
coming out with like drone attacks. That would completely take away from all of that. But I was like, yes, this lore only makes sense if, like, a sword fight only makes sense if you take place back then. Nobody wants to see a sword
Hmm.
fight in 2025.
No, I was gonna say to that point too. It made me remember. Do you remember that movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, Romeo and Juliet?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
When they made that like that new age Romeo and Juliet, instead of swords,
Yeah.
they fought with guns.
Oh, okay. All right. I don't remember. I don't think I saw that.
Yeah, it's instead of it was basically the story,
Yep.
of Romeo and Juliet, but instead of swords, they had just pistols and
Yeah.
stuff like that. It was basically like the '90s. It
Yeah.
was kind of weird, but it reminded me of that, like them taking and just shifting like
Yeah.
a time period
Yeah.
into into 1990, because
Well,
they still talked like the dialogue was kind of still the
they
same.
do that quite a lot with Shakespearean
Mm-hmm.
dramas these days. A lot of times, just to kind of keep them fresh. And they do the same thing with operas. They will take
Yep.
an old story like Madame Butterfly or The Marriage of Figaro or Othello or Twelfth Night, and
Mm-hmm.
they will keep almost everything. We did this in high school. We did
Mm-hmm.
Romeo and Juliet, and we had like the banquet scene. We are all dressed in regular clothes, and we had Skrillex playing in the background. And I was like, doth now think this is not weird? Because
Right.
it
Yeah.
is.
That's
And
weird.
but
That's
like
weird.
you have a lot of people, because the demand for much more stimulation than
Mm-hmm.
regular Shakespearean theater can provide, and same thing with operas, is so much higher now. Um,
Yeah.
you kind of end up trying to shove these older stories into more contemporary mediums, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes, but some
Mm-hmm.
people I've noticed can be put off if it's very true to the traditional look, like Victorian
Yeah.
dresses and bonnets and things like that, and it makes it kind of
Mm-hmm.
feel a little bit more elitist to some. If you dress
Mm-hmm.
them in, like, I don't know, like a regular blazer and jeans, maybe that makes it a
Yeah.
little different to them, but it changes the whole
Yep.
vibe of the story for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was going to ask you that too. Is like, why do you think that they'll take like a story from way in the like way back when and kind of modernize it with theater, because theater is such an old medium to
Yeah.
begin with,
Yeah.
and it hasn't really changed. So it's
Mm.
like, why it doesn't really have to change with the times.
Yeah.
It is the medium.
Yep.
So I was wondering, like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, why do you think it changes with time? Do you think it's just more appealing aesthetically, or do you think it's more relatable? Because I mean, technically, you wouldn't have to change. You wouldn't have to change theater since theater became a medium. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
It's the same thing basically. It's props and it's actors.
Right. Right. I think at its most animalistic sense, it is
Mm-hmm.
the same story being told over and over and over. And so to
Mm-hmm.
not fall into that disparate pit of irrelevancy, you have to find a way as a director, as a performer, to draw in tickets. If people have seen Twelfth Night
Mm-hmm.
5,000 times,
Yep.
what is stopping them from just saying to years, no, I'm good. And so I think
Mm-hmm.
what it really is at its core is just finding a different way to get the same people to come back and to get newer people to come back, and
Yeah.
something as unapproach as difficult to approach as like Shakespeare, to the point where they have
Mm-hmm.
entire anthologies called like Shakespeare for Kids or Shakespeare for Dummies. Like,
Yeah.
it takes so much
Mm-hmm.
to try to make that relevant now, because not only is it a different type of Elizabethan language, but
Mm-hmm.
also it's just issues that aren't as relevant nowadays. And you look at some
Yeah.
like operas from Mozart where you're trying to impress a countess and somebody's going off to war, and there's vengeance and things like that, and like the aristocracy. You don't
Mm-hmm.
How can you make that relevant to the common person and who's just
Yeah.
enjoying an opera down at the Lincoln Center? And so
Yep.
it's tough to approach. I do think they're trying to make it more modern because people, they will come to something that is more relatable. That's just a known
Yeah.
fact. And so if newer people are trying to go and
Mm-hmm.
get into it, like I said, the Victorian stuff is not really going. It's not going to really appeal to most people much more than somebody who's like in jeans and blazer talking to them as if this is something that they at least can grasp hold of, because like, okay, I can understand what they're wearing, at least I can do
Yeah.
that, and that's a slight in. Also, I think if something is changing because it's a political project or something that's a little
Mm-hmm.
bit more topical, like you're talking about like the fall of regime or the rise of authoritarianism, whatever kind of play it is, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
Shakespeare or like Arthur Miller, or something like by George Orwell talking about the rise of authoritarians. I think repeating a story like that and giving it a more modern twist might prompt the audience to think of it in a more contemporary context. Go, oh,
Mm-hmm.
this story is happening right now, that's why they're performing this. It's a statement performance, things like that. So
Okay.
the same story can be used for a bunch of different mediums, but at its core, I think people just want to freshen something, a tale as old as time up so people
Okay.
they can sell tickets.
I was gonna say instead of bread and tea, it's a Little Caesars pizza and a Mountain Dew.
What it
Just
like?
modernize it.
This is like the Hillbilly Theater Company.
Oh man. But yeah, I've always wondered that just because it's like it's such a old medium to begin with and it
Yeah.
really didn't need to change. Because but I get that. It's kind of like me going to a movie that like I told you I go to movies with my brother that sometimes I go in completely blind. I don't know anything about it. And it's, it's a way to just get people in if you can see the poster and relate to something.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, there's that and there's that. Okay, I get that.
Well, like setting really does a number on even like the theater world, not just like creating the set and things like that, but just like immersing your audience into a world that they might not have ever seen before. So like, for example, Puccini in an opera, he just floored everybody by writing La Boheme. And it was like a bohemian life. It's nothing to do with high kings or emperors or priests or princesses or anything like that. It was just living the squalor bohemian life. And then Jonathan Larson took that years later, hundreds of years later, and turned that into Rent. And living the life and squalor of having nothing. And it's not The Sound of Music. It's not The King and I. It's just, this is us living the poor life. How are we going to make it paycheck to paycheck with the AIDS epidemic? And that's what prompted Lin-Manuel Miranda to write In the Heights, because he saw that and he's like, oh, I don't have to write a musical about, all of these elitist kind of things and having money. I can just write a life about living in poverty. And it completely changed the setting from the hills of Austria or a golden palace to Washington Heights in the middle of the Bronx in New York City in a poor, neighborhood. And it's so much more relatable.
I've never been to like a theater act, I guess, or like that level of theater, I guess.
Yeah.
So I can't really speak about like, because I'm sure it's like anything else. You get into it, I mean? There's
yeah.
You're kind of just lost in what's going on and stuff like that. Like, I've seen a few of them, but they were like, around here kind of thing. But,
Gotcha.
It's not, Broadway.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, in the Broadway settings, they really do a good job working with the space that they have. Like, if you ever get to go, I advise you, go see Lion King. Lion King, above and beyond, makes use of the space that they have, whether it's the balconies, whether it's just because all the sets in Broadway, they move now. Like they're automatically on, like moving and rotating and things like that. And it works wonders. But anyway, like the story itself, obviously Lion King can only take place in Africa with these lions. Obviously, like it's not like you're going to mix Lion King and what's that movie with the Central Park animals and the hippo and the zebra that Chris Rock played and the lion. What the hell is it called? Madagascar. Madagascar.
Madagascar. Yep.
Yeah, it's like if Lion King took place in the Central Park Zoo, we'd have a problem.
Yep.
But like, setting should be its own character. Like we said, it should drive the plot. Like I can't imagine The Dark Knight happening anywhere else other than Gotham, and they do a good job defining Gotham. It is this like Chicago and Manhattan-esque city together, and like that becomes its own character because Batman is fighting for the soul of Gotham and the Joker is fighting to break it and to show just how easily feeble people are. And so to do that, you have to readily establish who Gotham is, and it's the setting playing a character, and you're like, okay, this character is easily manipulated. This body of people like become the setting and they're easily manipulated, and you're literally the setting is on trial the entire time. And like I love that. Like that's one of the highest displays I can think of when a setting plays an active character. I swear to God, if that thumbs up pops up one more time, I'm gonna lose it. For any of you just listening, that thumbs up. This is what happens when you use an iPhone as a camera. When you do a thumbs up, it just thinks that you want like a little emphasis on it. I'm gonna scrub that. We'll see what happens. Anyway,
it's all good. It only happens once or twice usually.
It's too many.
And then like to your point, like we were discussing, like you were saying, like The Dark Knight with like Bane and stuff like that. If it happened anywhere else, or or like a different time. I was
Yep.
gonna say Bane. I don't know about the other characters, like
Mm.
the Joker. The Joker's kind of a difficult one, but like Bane, you like we were talking, if you could pick a different time, or like a different setting for that
Mm-hmm.
person,
Yeah.
I could see Bane being almost like an El Capone gangster,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
like
Mm-hmm.
like a liquor running kind of person, like in the South. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
Okay.
Kind
Okay.
of like a. I could see him doing that instead of his big coat with his wool on it.
Mm-hmm.
I could see
Yeah.
a trench coat and stuff like that, and then I could see just him. I could see him just being a gangster, I
Do you
guess.
think does Bane come off as somebody who needs an audience to you?
No, I think because he seems it's more genuine than that. It's he's it's who he is kind of
Okay.
thing. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like because I think Bane would be himself if he was in front of 1,200 or 12,000 people.
Okay. It
It
just
would it would still
always
be the same character.
got you. Maybe I'm
You know?
just too focused on his monologues, but it seemed like he
Mm-hmm.
needed to convince the world of his motives, which implied to
Yeah.
me that some of his
Mm-hmm.
power and some of his character might be taken away if he
Mm-hmm.
were in a setting with less people, with lower stakes. Maybe he
Okay.
just targeted Gotham because, it was where the most damage could be done, and he was picking up on what the Joker had left off on, which is like the soul of
Mm-hmm.
Gotham. But everything the Joker warned he was going to do, pretty much Bane ended up doing. We ended up seeing
Yeah.
Gotham endure that pain and suffering again. He ended up
Mm-hmm.
like creating that madness and anarchy and just how fickle
Yeah.
society can be. um
I,
yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I think the Gotham. I think that was just in his mind. It was a bigger stage,
Hmm.
and he needed to build an army.
Yeah.
So, like for his dominance of Gotham, he needed an army. Now, I could also see him like to my point of like a liquor running gangster, like that movie Lawless
Yep.
with Shia LaBeouf. I
Hmm.
could see him in Lawless as a character
Okay.
because I think because Bane, like when you look at Bane, when he's in that football stadium after he blows it up,
Hmm.
he's himself there, and
Hmm.
he's also very much himself with his dialogue and the way he speaks and the way he presents himself and what he's trying to decipher
Right.
when Batman's on the ground and he's just walking around him. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah.
Bane is just genuinely Bane.
Hmm.
I think. You know what I mean? That's just who he is. I
Right.
think he's
Yeah.
he's a charismatic person, kind
Hmm.
of like the Joker. He's got charisma, and I think people are, in a way, he creates fear, and
Hmm.
he creates he's looking for bring me your poor and your poor and hungry kind of guy. He's almost like a Robin Hood character, but like looking for delinquents and like criminals and stuff like that more than just handing it out. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah, and
Come
he
with
yeah.
me and I'll give you an outlet
Oh, he literally
kind
freed
of
all
thing.
the prisoners from Blackgate Prison, and they stormed all
Yep.
the elite people and robbed from them and put them on
Yep.
trial.
hmm
Yeah.
Like in Lawless, I could see him being Gary Oldman's character,
Okay. Okay. Yep. I see
kind of
that.
that leader of that gang. I
Hmm.
could see him doing that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, one interesting setting that I'm thinking about right now is one of the most famous franchises of all time, Harry
hmm
Potter. Now, if you notice, in
Okay.
Harry Potter, the Muggle world is exactly the time frame that of the movie itself. The early
hmm
2000s and onward. Lights, trains, cars, everything. The
hmm
second they get into the wizarding world, everything
Yep.
goes backwards a few hundred years.
hmm
Hogwarts is all lit by torches and candles, and it's just this huge Scottish castle. So,
Yeah.
what do you think? What do you think the mind frame was of J.K. Rowling to place it back a few hundred years? Like, what do you think her goal was in terms of creating the
Um.
story?
No, like before I go into this too, I'm not that versed
Ah,
in
damn it. Okay, do you want to ask me?
no, I mean I am I am enough to the point where I could probably present an answer. I would love to
Let's
hear
see what
your
you got. No,
answer
let's see what you
afterward.
got.
But
I'm interested now.
I think they made that they like when they would go to the wizard world. I think they made it that way because it's like they wanted to make it seem like it's older than it's like almost like the Victorian era, like right at the tilt of the Victorian era.
Yeah, yeah.
But they wanted to make it seem like it's a time that kind of stands still.
Okay.
You know,
Yep.
does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because it's
Absolutely.
like, you know, this is what people have been doing for 100 years or something like that, and it never changes, and it probably never will.
Yeah.
But I guess that's kind of what I got out of it, because it's a timeless thing.
Yeah.
And they can always relate, rely, and it will always be there, kind of thing.
No, that makes sense
like,
to me.
In that way.
That was a good one for someone who didn't know a lot about Harry Potter. Mean,
to be honest, I've seen some of the movies. Like I know what you're talking about, the world.
Some
the
of
transitions
the
between the world and stuff like that.
I
love that's my
that's your Godfather.
That's my Godfather in Lord of the Rings right there. That's
the fact that Harry Potter is my Godfather is probably even sadder, but okay.
Well, no. I'm just saying, like, that's the yin yang between us two. Like, we got to do our homework on those two mediums, like me, Harry Potter, and then you, Godfather, and stuff like that. But I love Warwick Davis, and I'll watch anything Warwick Davis.
Cool.
Is in.
Okay. All right.
So
got you.
That's kind of. But yes, I would love to hear your answer on that.
So for me, I think one, you need a dichotomy between the world that Harry lives in, which is our very relatable world, and I think if you went into the magical world and it was the same, you would lose a lot of that magical element, because I think they deliberately brought it back to a time where it was more mystical. But if you notice, there's a complete absence of science in the magical world of Harry Potter, where a ship can just rise out of the lake and it's just full of students who have no problem breathing underwater. And then, there are these skeletal horses called Thestrals that you can only see if you're dead, but it's in this mystical forest. You are in Hogwarts, where the staircase is made of stone, they move, there are ghosts. And so it feels more believable when somebody just whips out a wand and just does a spell. And then when the Fantastic Beasts movies came out, they placed it in kind of like the real Muggle world almost, or like, and it didn't feel right to me. Because my brain had to keep shifting back and forth between, okay, he's doing a spell right now, but right next to him is a very simple light bulb. That's where light is being created. And my brain just had to keep going back and forth between, okay, this is a duality between magic and science. When you're in the magical world of just like Hogsmeade and Hogwarts, it's just absent science, and it creates a lot more space, I think, story-wise, for just pure magic. There's a lot less belief I have to suspend, because the entire world is magic. It's not just like, okay, we're walking by a Muggle, I do magic. There's no way that person just didn't see all that shit that happened and is not calling 911 right now. And I'm in my own world. I think it's just purely for the sake of world building. And it also, aesthetically, it does make it so much cooler.
Well, yeah, I mean, to me, or for me, it puts you it kind of puts you in a box when you go to that world, almost like a law school. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is your world for the next however long. You know what I mean? There's not that many outside influences.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what it is for me. It's like no distractions, full tilt this. You know what I mean?
Like, imagine if in the first Harry Potter, Professor Quirrell just came running in, and instead of saying troll in the dungeon, he said troll in the finished basement.
Right.
I don't know if that's going to stick well.
Or unfinished basement with a huge crack in the foundation.
Like he's ripping the drywall.
But I was gonna say, I mean, that is one thing that I think I need to watch. Those movies, like, in order, kind of thing, because like a lot of people reference that, and what's the other one? Twilight, not so much. Like, people reference Twilight.
You can.
I mean, but
you could skip Twilight.
I think so, but it's like a lot of people ask me, like, have you ever seen Twilight? I was like, no.
Yeah, the book. Honestly, I enjoyed the books. I really enjoyed the books, and you know what it was, and this falls right in line with talking about setting. I was able, and I guess we should talk a little bit more about setting in novels too, because when you have a novel, the setting, because it's a novel and you're not being told what to see, you're allowed that flexibility and that freedom to give permission for the reader to envision something completely different to the person sitting right next to them reading the same thing. So for Twilight, I had such a more imaginative vision of how the story played out and exactly what I was seeing, and then it just came off as bland on screen for me. Not just Kristen Stewart's kind of deadpan look or Robert Pattinson's sparkliness. It wasn't appealing to me. That small town vibe, when I physically saw it, it didn't click with me.
Yeah,
I'm also not the target demographic. I acknowledge that.
Well, that's just it. I'm 37 years old, so it's like, am I really gonna relate to these? Like, but it came out when I was younger, so
yeah,
it is sort of my time. But one movie that kind of does that, like the book puts you in a spot, like, but the movie did a really good job too. I've never read the book. My brother did, but we went to the longest walk, or the long walk, or whatever, or what's it called?
Where?
The Stephen King.
Oh, Green Mile.
No. The new one. The Long Walk.
Oh, the one with Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah, where it's
I don't know. I know what you're talking about though, but I don't know the name.
But that's a Stephen King novel. And my brother's like super into Stephen King, and I was kind of bouncing stuff off of him, and he said the movie is quite different than the book.
Okay.
But the book does a very good job at like putting you in the kind of he said the book was a good transition to the movie, because he said the book puts you basically right there. You know what
gotcha.
I mean? Like, you're in. I think it's in Maine, where it's like something like that. So it's, there's not much to the imagination. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But he said the book did a very good job at kind of putting you there.
Okay.
Putting you in the situations, because it's very situational and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
But I saw that just recently, and that's a good movie.
I'll put it down. I'll put it on the list, and I'm going to be looking at it strictly through the lens of, does the setting fall in line with the story? So I'll put that down on my list. I'm going to be putting on my scene glasses. So I think we're at the point where we can get into the activity that we have planned today. And what we're going to be doing is one of us is going to be naming a famous story, whether it's a film, whether it's a show, whether it's a novel, and the other person can choose to either keep two things the same or change one of them or change both of them. And those two things are the time and the location. So for example, if I say something like Harry Potter, John can say same time, same location, and then I have to talk about something about it. But if he chooses to change any one of those two variables, whether it's the time, location, say he says 2025 in Cincinnati, I have to then talk about what might be different about Harry Potter with those two changes in time and location. Johnny, you got anything?
Okay, I have a movie and I have a time. I do not have a location.
No, that's fine. All you got to do is tell me the movie or show. I'll give you the time and location, and then you tell me what might be different.
Okay.
Unless you want me to do it first.
Let's do Get Out.
Okay. Damn, because that is kind of recluse. Let's do 1920 and same location.
1920?
Yep.
And it was in the Northeast, right?
I think so. Yeah. Because they were in the city and then they moved. Yeah. Wherever there were deer. There were a lot of deer.
Yep. Okay. I think when you say 1920, you take a slash at the movie right away with the technology.
Okay.
The way she sets up these transfers of people, like where the brainwash and stuff like that, she uses social media. Bam. That's out. So you would have to I guess you would have to groom them almost like an old school date. Like,
oh my God,
meet
like
them organically.
Carrier pigeon grooming.
Yeah, kind of. It's like you would have to meet them.
Those damn manipulative pigeons.
Yeah, I think it would be it would be a lot more of a coin flip because you would have to meet them organically.
Yeah.
You them and judging by the race of the people that you're trying to get, you would have to meet them in some places that you would be very out of place. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
1940s, a white girl trying to meet a black guy. You know, it's like you would. I think you would get a lot of weird looks. I think you would
Yeah.
get a lot of people like, "Why are you here? What are you doing?" kind of thing.
Well, do we run
And
the
I think
risk
there would
of
be a lot of
yeah?
apprehension.
Would that even you can even say would that story even work because is there even
That's what I'm saying.
is there even a tolerant family at that point? Well, that's not true. There are obviously tolerant families by the 1920s up in the north. But there
Yes.
you could run that risk of it still being a pretty damn good trap.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you would have to meet them. You know, the cities are segregated. You would have to go to their side of town.
Right,
You
right,
would
right,
have to
right.
put yourself. You would have to put yourself in a situation where people are going to look at you and have a lot of questions. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be so easy as a dating website. I guess you know what I
No,
mean. There's going to
definitely
be a
not.
lot more. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we're talking when she's grooming them on the dating website. Let's say a month, maybe. You know
Yep,
what I mean?
yep,
I would say organically, you're looking at about a 6 month window before
right,
you can get this person to come to your parents' house.
yep.
You know, this upstate New York, in the
Mm-hmm.
middle of nowhere, white person's house. You know what I
Yep,
mean?
yep.
But I would say that technology is going to be a big one. Um, you you wouldn't be hitting a deer quite as fast because you'd be
The
you'd
horse
probably
would
be
be
in
kicking it, or
yeah, I
like a
was gonna
Model
say
T.
yeah, the top the top speed on
Yeah.
that thing's like 30 miles an
But
hour.
still, that thing would crumble.
Oh, the car would be done. That deer would probably get up, wipe itself off, and keep
You'd
going.
never make
That
it to the
that
house.
car
You'd
would
be
be in
walking the whole
pieces.
way.
That's like throwing a soda can at something at 30 miles. It would just crumble.
That's so funny. Okay.
I'm gonna say the cop interaction would probably be quite similar.
The movie would be over.
I mean, there's
Okay.
a lot of parallels it could be, but as far as like time and
Yeah, yeah,
place,
yeah.
yeah.
All right. Um, mine, I got let's go with that's pretty similar to what we just did. Let's do Interstellar. What do you got for Interstellar?
Interstellar. I'm gonna do 1970.
Okay.
Like, let's say 1970, or just when the big space
Space
race
race?
was.
Okay. All
Yep.
right.
And then Interstellar, where did it take place exactly, or was it just kind of
It
like?
was like
Did it have
it
a
was in
specific place?
yeah, it was I think it was like I don't know, one of the Midwestern farm areas because they were all everybody was a
Okay.
farmer. They were trying to grow okra and then they were trying to
Okay.
grow and everything was just dying. Probably like Kansas, Nebraska, one of those.
Okay. Let's say 1970. Russia.
Oh Jesus! All right, so we're on the other side of the space race.
All right,
Oh
let's
shit!
see. Yeah.
So
Let's flip the coin.
okay, so we've killed many dogs trying to exit orbit at this point. um, so we're just hovering over these poor kennels. So it's well before people are worried about Y2K. So the technology isn't really there, and so we don't even know that that entering space is an option at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
When did Sputnik happen? Is that
I
around
think
that time?
that was it was in the 60s.
Okay,
I think,
okay.
the first, yeah.
So computer technology is not completely there. So our models for predicting the end of Earth aren't quite there. So if the premise stays the same that we are dying and we need to exit Earth earlier, we're not going to have the tools to be able to do that. And so I think the entire story changes from like are we able to colonize another planet to we're not able to colonize another planet and we can't leave to start another race, so the end of the story is going to end up being, look, we just have to hug our family tighter and try to find a way to either dig underground and learn how to farm that way or find another way to be resourceful. It's not going to end up being interstellar. It's going to be like in the ground stellar.
No.
Um,
Instead of instead of corn and all that, you're looking at beet crops.
Yeah. It's just like,
or in Russian fashion, no crops. Let's be honest. They're
yeah,
trying to
yeah,
find
yeah, yeah, exactly. Oh, that's right. Okay, it takes place in Russia. So everybody gets the same share of crops.
Yep.
Nobody is above anybody else. You can only have this plot of land. If you try go over your plot of land, you get shot. And
Mm-hmm.
the Americans are trying to find a right. All right, so you still are in a space race. So maybe
Yeah.
do you fake any kind of proof that you have exited orbit and you're just going to be leaving people behind, or you're going to be trying to explore because you're still trying to make it to the moon? Or no, we already did that by 1970,
Well,
right?
well, I believe the Russians beat us to space,
It was
but we beat
that
we
was Sputnik.
the Sputnik.
Yeah.
But we beat them to the moon. I
Okay.
believe.
Okay. So maybe it's possible that we could send people out into space to be able to
Mm-hmm.
say that we are exploring. I just think it's going to be a lost cause, and that if everything is going to be going to shit and all of the crops are going to be failing and dying in dust bowls,
Yeah.
then it's not going to be a pretty ending. I mean, like they're definitely not going to be able to go as far out as Matthew McConaughey did, to the point where he missed
Mm-hmm.
decades of his kids' lives. So if anything, he misses maybe a few months of their lives. Maybe they come back, and then his
Yep.
kids are just a few months older, and it's like, you once said that by the time you get back, we might be the same age. It's been 5 weeks, so nope, that's not happening.
Right. I think the real question is how do you eat a bowl of borscht in zero gravity?
That's been on your. We made
Yeah,
it.
right.
All right, that was a good one. What else you got?
All right.
Maybe one more each.
I'm gonna do Sinners.
Dude, that was on my list, and I was like, "Oh, we can't do it." It was so close to Get Out. I was like, "Get
But
Out in the past is Sinners."
Okay.
No.
But
Go ahead.
it's I was gonna say, but it's a time period of
Okay.
piece, so
Yep.
it's like let's transition the time.
Yep.
So let's do Sinners. You pick the place and the time.
Okay. Sinners. Modern day, and you know what? Oh man, no, Dan, I can't do Chicago because I came from Chicago. Modern day, Sioux Falls, North Dakota.
Okay.
What does Sioux Falls 2025 have for Sinners?
Oh man. Okay. So
That's not
anyway,
good.
well, let's be honest. Let's instead of Irish folk music and blues, we're going to be bringing it's 2025.
Yep.
So we're bringing some rap music, some dubstep. You know what I mean? We got our crazy sunglasses on. We got our
Yeah.
just interesting get-ups and stuff like that. Remick would look like I don't know. If I had a Remick like character instead of a banjo or a guitar, he'd probably have a turntable.
I picture him with
then,
gauges. I don't know why.
Gauges, yep,
Yeah.
yep, gauges. It's kind of like I guess you could say a Hot Topic kid now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like when I was in high school, a Hot Topic kid listened to metal. Now they're all dubstep and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was like, we just came for a party. His little wallet chain jingling as he's walking.
He'd probably be somewhat goth, like those crazy goth people that listen to like dubstep and house music with the fucking the respirators on and shit.
Oh my god.
As far as like I would say it's just some dance club. It would be a dance club instead of like a
juke joint.
Blues, like juke joint.
Yeah.
He'd be trying to, I don't know. It would just, man. As far as Sioux Falls though.
Yeah. Like is there a version of the town scene where Smoke goes to visit the old friends to get the supplies that they need for the party? Is there a version of that in Sioux Falls? Like small shops like that to be able to.
Oh yeah.
Okay, all right, yeah.
There's actually a shop that we went to. It's called it's gonna bug me that I don't know that. If I think about it, I'll send it to you. Maybe we can put a picture.
Yep, I'll put a picture right here.
It's attached to a golf course.
Yeah.
And it's got like cool specialty shops. Like it's got a butcher shop, it's got a restaurant, it's got a bakery and stuff like that. It's called Looks. I think it's called Looks or something like that. But I'll make sure that's what it's called. But like he would go there instead of, instead of what was it, $12 or whatever for the sign.
Oh yeah.
It would be an astronomical number. It'd probably be like $600.
The sinners guys can't handle modern day inflation.
Let's be honest.
That's so funny.
If it was in Sioux Falls, they'd be sitting there with calculators, like, is this worth it? We're gonna go tits up before this
best I can do. You think you could barter your way to this side?
Right.
That's funny.
Okay, I'm gonna restart. Right. So we got Looks, and then I would say the joint. I'm gonna say Big's Bar.
Okay.
There's a bar, a music venue in Sioux Falls called Big's Bar. It's a bar with like a small stage and stuff like that. I go to music festivals and stuff there.
Okay.
So let's say they buy Big's Bar, and it's kind of similar to the juke joint. It's got two entrances. It's got it's got separate rooms and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I would say, we'll go there. There's not much diversity.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. It's Sioux Falls. I mean, it would probably be, instead of Asians, it would probably be natives.
Gotcha.
Stuff like that. And then, instead of catfish, I would say fried bread tacos. You ever had fried bread tacos? Let's go fried bread tacos. And,
oh, my God.
And maybe some German, or not German, liquor. Maybe some red eye. I don't know if you ever heard of red eye. It'd be a red eye and fried bread taco party.
Oh, good.
And then
great.
Dubstep, just the most obnoxious dubstep you've ever heard in your life.
Now, what's your vision of
what
if they do the whole scene of past music? That'll probably stay the same. What do you see appearing for future music?
Oh man.
Like, what does the future music look like?
Oh man, it's, to be honest, I don't know like where we go from here.
Dude,
like,
I think it's like, literally just AI spitting out certain sounds like from a synth pad.
Yeah,
literally,
it's just a computer just screaming stuff.
Pretty much, it's just like a data error, but to a beat.
Yeah. But I'm not gonna lie. In Sioux Falls, the transition, like the historical transition that they do in that, would be cool, because like the native dancing and stuff like that, that'd be fucking cool.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
Just because like I don't know if you're familiar with like a lot of that history and stuff like that, but like the powwows and stuff like that we have around here, it's cool. Like there's a lot of cool stuff that goes on in those, but I would say it'd be different in that way. The music, like you said, I don't know where we go from dubstep, so I'm gonna go with that. Just a computer monitor screaming stuff at you.
Arguably less qualitative than the original Sinners.
Right. And then on top of that too, Big's Bar is very low lit, so it'd be kind of a transition between that, because the juke joint's very well lit. This is pretty low. It's almost like the scene in Buffy the Vampire Slayer when they're at the gym. You remember that movie?
I think
it's kind of low lit.
Yeah.
And they go outside and all those vampires there. It's kind of low lit like that. Like there's lighting, but there's not much lighting. It's very much a rock venue.
That's funny.
Okay,
last one I got. I'm gonna go back to horror. So have you seen Smile?
Yes.
Okay, so something as simple as Smile. And the reason I want to go back to horror is because the things that scare me the most, and I think that are good for horror, are things that are familiar but slightly off. So, for example, they did a study on what makes people tick when it comes to horror. And what they found was when you take something familiar and normal, but you slightly adjust it to where the brain can't help but perceive something as off, it is very, very creepy. And that's the terror part of it, so they had a teddy bear, but they implanted human dentures into the mouth.
Yeah.
And it looks horrific, like absolutely horrific. Now, something like a smile is a sign of of happiness, of invitation, and it's a sign of goodwill. When you do it for too long and in a certain way, it is the worst thing you could ever impose on a person's day. And then you have it in just modern times, like Smile was like modern contemporary times, and it's very familiar. And also with horror films, when you're in just like a dark room, it's a room that looks like anybody's room, to the point when you turn that movie off, maybe this is just me and I'm scared of everything, like you look around, you're like, this could happen in my room, because that room looks like my room. If you did it in like this mystical cave or something, I probably wouldn't be as scared. But since you did it in a mirror that looks like my bathroom mirror, I can't go to sleep now.
Yep. Nope.
So like, okay, so Smile. What do you think?
Okay. I'm gonna give you the timeline between 1870 and Victorian times, like that time where the mentally insane were kind of like still misunderstood.
I will say those insane asylums do look creepy. Okay.
I was gonna say that era of insane asylum, and then I'm gonna say the place as well, England.
Okay. And I will say, arguably, that movie might be creepier, because if you look, if any historical pictures are any proof, nobody smiled.
Well, because you got to consider in that time, well, yeah, no one's going to smile. When you're being shoved into ice water as an experiment, there's no smiling going on there.
Also, but that's if you're being forced to take a picture in that time, what you're seeing on the actual picture is like the 40th minute that it took for them to get that camera ready for that picture, and nobody's happy.
It's like the beginning of House on Haunted Hill, when that lady's being examined or whatever, and she's just standing there just like this.
Yeah,
it's like a lot of that.
All right,
but I would say that just because those people, they were basically just shoved in an insane asylum, not treated. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I think if you took Smile and you took it and you brought it back to Victorian time England, I think it would lose a lot of its realism, because one, the audience wouldn't be able to relate to it as much because it's an olden time. It would still, hands down, be very creepy. The smile, everybody in the corner, I think all of that will still keep, but I think the thing that you lose is the relatability of it. The fact that it can just be passed down from person to person. There's not a way for you to be able to tell exactly how this was being passed, because if you remember in the Smile movie, they found evidence, CCTV footage of somebody being passed down, the illness, because they witnessed somebody on the security footage at the gas station. So they would probably go on a longer journey. They would probably have to see it for themselves, which would kind of defeat the purpose, or read it in a book, because if they saw it for themselves, they would be getting it already. So they probably have to change that medium to reading it in a book, believing somebody who ends up telling them that. They could probably go into a prison or an asylum and hear from somebody else who saw it. But it would probably be more, I don't know, it would be definitely more fantastical, if that's a word, then, as you don't have to do a lot now in this modern interpretation of Smile to get people to kind of believe in the lore. Back then, if you place it back then, I think it's just, for the audience's sake, I think they would just view it more as like, oh, that's a scary story, old tale. And nowadays it's like, oh shit, that's a real thing. This is so. I think it would just lose a little bit more of its believability, or at least maybe its fear factor, just because I find if both are equally scary in the moment, if you have one that will make me think about it in real time, in real life, more after the movie's over, I think that one kind of wins out. And I think that gap right there is kind of what you lose if you set it anywhere further than like present day. England, I don't think the country matters too much, but I don't know. Maybe they just have more boiled bread.
Yeah, right. I was gonna say, like, when you say that, it's it would probably just be written off as a severe mental illness, like, this person. Yeah. But like, what I don't get, or the one thing that I don't think would change, is it in Smile, isn't it only like one specific person that can kind of see it? It's almost like a delusion.
It's the person who eventually ends up smiling. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, like that part might be a little difficult, but yeah, it'd probably be just written off as mental illness.
Yeah, that's true because nobody else would really be able to document it because that person would end up
Yeah.
killing themselves anyway. But
Mm-hmm.
there would be this long line of people killing themselves. I guess there would probably be
Yep.
a little bit more mystery to the story because
Mm-hmm.
there's not a lot that would be able to be documented or proven. And so there's more confusion until I guess we would have to really, really follow the story through first person
Yeah.
unless, well, actually no, that's not entirely true because if we followed it from like a third person point of view and there's a lot of the story that we see that the protagonist doesn't see, that might
Mm-hmm.
actually work a lot better because there's a lot more that there's a lot less that the protagonist will be able to discover because there's no security
Mm-hmm.
footage, there's no photos, no documentation. So we would probably have to change the entire story to third person to be able
Yeah.
to see what the protagonist can.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. Like an entire point of view shift because of the setting.
Yeah.
That's a really
Mm-hmm.
good point that
Yeah.
you if your setting changes so much to the point where you lose a lot of the ability for the protagonist to go on this journey, do you have
Mm-hmm.
to shift the focus so that the audience doesn't get lost? That's really
Yeah.
interesting. I like that.
I'm looking at it this way too. The journey could still be there, but it would
Yep.
be like a lot of other movies where you go, oh, go visit this person at this time, and then
Yep.
you walk in, and there's a little old lady under a candle,
Yep.
and then she tells you about this lore, about this, that could be more of the CCTV coming from a first person perspective.
Yeah. Do you think it's just as like a random thought? Do you think what would you think is more scary in a film if you had somebody who's alone in their house
Mm-hmm.
and they just hear a door click behind them, or and we haven't seen anything, or
Mm-hmm.
option 2, you know there's a person alone, we see somebody come in, we don't see who it is, and then the door clicks. Which of those two do you find more scary? Because on one hand, we know somebody's in there. On the
Mm-hmm.
other hand, we don't know somebody's in there, but we have an inkling because we heard a sound.
I think I think the one where you can see the person coming in is a bit scarier because it
Okay,
removes a lot of doubt. You know what I
gotcha.
mean? Because it's
Okay.
like you hear a creak in the door. Is it a creak in the door or is it something else? You see somebody walk in and you're like, that's somebody walking
Okay.
in, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. It's more of I guess, a concrete kind of thing.
Yep.
Like a lot of ghost movies nowadays rely on that, like, hearing like a door close or
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. Which it could be wind coming through a window, close the door. It could be stuff like that,
Yeah.
you know. And then you see somebody coming. Like there's a I don't know if you've seen the trailer for it, but there's a movie coming out called Good Boy,
Okay.
and I think it's a horror movie from the perspective of a dog.
Mm.
Like it's an interesting way because like you see the dog just staring at a corner, and then you see a shadow figure go like by it. You know what I mean? So if you see that, that wasn't just a light screwing with your mind. That was a humanoid thing walking in front of you. You
Jesus.
know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 No, I get
So I
that.
think it's just anything. I think it all comes down to removing doubt.
Okay.
Because if I hear a creak, it could just be a creak. If I
Mm-hmm.
see somebody, that's a person,
Yeah.
kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I do think, like, if we're talking about setting, like, the way that a setting is portrayed and shot also matters too. Because if
Yep.
you're in, like, a completely lit daylight, inducing kitchen, everything is white, yes, I'm not going to have the same feeling about Smile as if you're in the dark, you can't see anything, it's blurry. Like, yes, I'm going to pee my pants if
Right.
I'm in that house alone. It's different if like
Right.
you're just in your room or if you're just in an open space where you can't see into every
Yep.
corner or around the room. And oh god, it's terrifying.
Yeah. I think one movie before we go, one movie that does a very good job at that is it's a John Cusack movie called, I think it's 1408.
Okay.
I don't know if you ever seen that movie.
No.
It's about a haunted hotel room, and it all starts like that. It's like 1408 is a hotel room in New York that people, they refuse to let anyone stay there. when it's being cleaned.
Yeah.
Like when they're cleaning it with maids or whatever, one maid has to stand at the door and hold the door open.
Wow.
While another maid goes in and cleans for a little bit and then comes out.
Yeah.
Because the hotel room is what kills you, kind of thing.
Gotcha.
And it causes you to like almost go delirious and like, you know. But that movie does a really good job at it because it's like you'll hear a tap come on.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it starts out with like stuff like that. And then you're seeing like really vivid things like people made out of like TV static almost, you know what I mean? Like the people that have been here in the past and stuff like that.
Yeah.
1408's a good movie. You should watch.
Yeah, I'll add it to the list. It's almost like a lot of elevators not having, or hotels not having a 13th floor. You know, there's like a whole lore, and that's one of the cool things about setting a setting is that with a change in setting and a change in time, there are all these different rules that now apply to your story, like a superstition for a 13th floor, things like that. That's really interesting.
Well, that's the thing about 1408 too, is it skips that floor. They do not rent out any rooms on that floor, and it's completely partitioned off. Like,
gotcha.
You cannot rent it. And then John Cusack is like a ghost investigator, and it's like Samuel L. Jackson tells him like we're not going to let you stay here and stuff like that, and then he kind of just lets him. He's just like, okay, here you go.
And if I've learned anything in my life, it's to always listen to Sam Jackson.
Gotta listen to him. Snakes on a plane, hotel room.
Snakes on a plane. If you don't listen, he'll call Brie Larson. She'll come and kick your ass.
You're right. And Black Snake Moan. I was like, say, if he's gonna play some blues, you sit down and listen to Samuel L. Jackson.
Like, hey, if any of you own a 1408 like hotel room or room, things like that, let us know. We'll come and stay in there. I have no problem with that. I might pee my pants a little bit, but we have insurance for that, so it's okay. But let us know in the comments down below what your favorite movie, show, novel is that involves setting, why setting matters to you, why setting matters in the stories that you love. We'd love to hear from you guys. We'll probably talk a little bit more on setting somewhere down the line in future episodes, but I think that's it for now. Johnny, you got anything else?
Nope, that should do it, man.
Awesome. Hey, this has been a great time. Thank you guys so much for listening in. Stay tuned. Get us here on YouTube or wherever you catch your podcast. Let me try that again. Catch us here on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. I'm Ryder.
I'm John.
We'll see you guys later.